What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Idea Party podcast. My name is Ali Nakvi. I'll be your host along with RC Cepeda right here.
What's up, party people?
Before we get going, I'm just going to do a quick shout out to our friends over at Alcoholics Autonomous. It's a drinking show with a podcast problem. Christian Amy and Justin Rygard, one of our old friends from high school, from episode 32 also. Also went to high school with our guest today. They talk about everything while drinking and judging the world from their comfy chairs in Texas. Wherever you find your podcast, you can find them. It's Alcoholics Autonomous. And right off of that, we'll just get right into our show. Today, we're joined by a great actor. He was also born in the South Texas area, known as the Rio Grande Valley. He moved to New York City in 2011. He's known for being a burly character actor in TV and film. His appearances include TV shows Louie, Deadbeat, Blacklist, Sebastian, and HBO's Divorce, and many, many others. We're joined today by fantastic actor Jorge Chapa.
What? What's up?
What's up, dude? We all three of us went to high school together.
Rattler Pride.
Rattler Pride.
SHS in the house.
SHS.
Rattler Pride.
Right. Oh yeah, it was like something stupid like that. That's good. Oh, that's funny. You have any idea how the show works? I'll run it over one more time just for anybody that's new to the show. Also, just so you understand what's happening. So today we are going to create a movie, TV show, or product, and we'll basically give you a few jumping off points, and we'll go from there. The TV show or movie is obviously that. Could be anything from reality to documentary, whatever. And then the product can be anything. So whether it's an app for a phone, whether it's an album, we've done an album recently, or a theme park we've done in the past, a clothing line we've done in the past, anything you can think of pretty much as a product. So basically we're going to create something. So I'm going to give you a couple of jumping off points, and then you get to choose. Do you want to choose the jumping? You want to choose the theme first, or do you want to pick do you want to hear them first? Do you want to hear them?
Yeah, let's hear them. Let's hear them,
and then you can choose. Okay, great.
Yes.
So I have one. It's which please. Okay. I have one. It's them.
Shortened to the point.
Okay. And then I have one, better late than never.
Yeah.
So one more time, it's which please, them, or better late than never. What are we thinking?
Man, all three of these could be great documentaries. So, let's go with which please.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna create something called which please. When you hear which please, what's the first thing you think of?
Documentary.
Okay.
Oh.
And what is this documentary like? If somebody was like, "Hey, here's $1 million," you have it. You just do whatever you want. It could be a 10-year thing. It could be a 1-year thing. What would you make this documentary about?
We could follow groups of witches throughout the United States and the different regions and how they follow their perspective witchcraft. Yeah. Kind of like you have the brujas, in South Texas.
Yeah.
You have the New England witches with their little stones. You have the voodoo witches down in the South,
Yeah.
And then you have the woodland witches in the Northwest. Yeah.
So many generations and cultures, and I love it.
Yeah.
So you do like the history first, and you kind of explain the lore and the witchcraft and everything, and all the definitions of what a witch is, what a Wiccan is, all that other stuff. So you have a lot of stuff you could do. Yeah, hell yeah. And then would you just follow like one specific person in that group in that area, or would you follow specific people? Or
I think we could follow a few people. I think it's always interesting, kind of like the if you look at the model of the Tiger King. There was a couple characters in that cast, and you can always follow them. So I think it's always good to have just a few different characters so you could follow and update with. You know what I mean? Kind of like a docu-series almost.
Yeah, totally. That's what I was gonna say. So almost like you don't just not just like a 1 hour thing. It's like almost like a 10-hour thing where you follow different people in different episodes. That's great. Yeah.
Or different parts of the world too would be great. So
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
You could even go to like that cult stuff in Mexico.
Oh, that's dark.
Santísimo. Yeah. Yeah. And witches are real.
Andrew says, "Wait a minute, witches are real. I'm already hooked." Yeah, they're real, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Haven't you seen Harry Potter?
Isn't there a saying, witches be crazy?
Witches be crazy. Witches be tripping also.
Witches be tripping.
Witches get stitches, they say also.
Witches get stitches.
So no, the first thing
The show.
when you said it was going to be a documentary, have you guys seen What We Do in the Shadows?
I love that. That's I'm binging that one too. It's so
Yeah. Well, the movie or the series?
Oh yeah, I mean, the movie was fantastic. I just
The
love
movie.
The series. I just love that one character that sucks people's life by just talking to them.
Yeah.
Like my favorite character I've seen on TV in a long time. But no, I think that's more of a comedy thing. This is serious. Like we're finding out what these people believe in and why, right? And
kind of like that documentary, the Hail Satan. Did you all see that one?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like that. We could do something like that.
Yeah,
we follow them, and like now, like you, for me personally, when I was living in New York, like I saw a lot of girls, saying that they practice witchcraft. They have their little stones, they have their incantations.
Oh, wow.
They it's very fascinating to me that it's becoming a little bit more mainstream and taking a little bit more serious than it has been in the past.
Thanks to the movie The Craft. Remember that movie? That was a good, actually.
Oh man! So well, my wife is watching The Mentalist right now. She's never seen The Mentalist, and the girl, the what's the main girl? Not Fairuza Balk, but the good witch. She's the lead. Detective.
Neve Campbell?
No, who was it? Neve Campbell. Well, then it was another girl. Yeah, there's Neve Campbell. No, Neve Campbell had the scarring on the back. Remember?
Yeah.
And so then you had the other girl who was like the new girl in school, and they said the light is a feather stuff. Yeah, she's in The Mentalist, and I'm like, that's all I can see here now. And every time I see my wife watching the show, I was like, oh, she was in The Craft. She's like, you said that. I'm like, oh, whatever.
Robin Tunney.
Tunney, yeah, I knew it was her team. Yeah, she's great. But going.
I googled that. I promise.
Going with your point though, like I do love the fact of a docuseries on that in the serious route because again, like that's a life, not just a lifestyle decision, but they take it in all their aspects of their life, right? Like the breaths to the things they eat. Like it's not just like I'm gonna put the shirt on. It's like I'm gonna live this life.
They don't just pick up any broom,
Oh, let's see what Andrew says. I love that we live in a world where we are happy to have witches comfortable with practicing. Yeah.
Hey, only practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
You have to practice. No, I mean, I think this is definitely something that like a lot of people, especially like obviously like cult following, right? But no, I mean, and you could definitely get like a lot out of it because they truly believe this, right? Like, they don't. It's not that they're following something like Harry Potter. Like that was me joking, but I think the jokiest part of this whole thing is the title, "Witch Please," which I think we should come up with a better title than "Witch Please."
I like that. I mean, it's kind of like people are haven't taken them serious for long. I mean, every time you think of a witch, it's either like the Salem witch trials or like it's some kind of like a Bewitched or some kind of comical like Halloween costume.
Yeah.
During like the pandemic. Yeah, Hocus Pocus.
Right.
It still stands true today. Like it's in it's up there with one of the best like holiday Christmas timeless films.
Yeah, it's the Halloween movie to watch, which blows my mind that it's a children's movie and they keep like picking on that kid for being a virgin. Poor guy.
Poor kid.
He's a virgin. It's like, what? He's only 15. Let him be. He needs to consent.
Times are different now.
Yeah.
So okay, Witch Please, is it more so? And I get both points, right? I get Ali if it's going to be more serious, maybe a shift in the name, but then I also get yours because it could be like, Witch Please help me out, right?
Well, exactly like you said, like, totally. I think I agree. Like, I mean, I didn't think of it as a documentary, but now that you're saying it, like, I don't see it as anything else. I think this could be something that, like, it's them trying to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
I think it totally makes sense. Sapo says, can we follow witches in their day jobs? And I think that's cool. That's a good part of it. That's a big part.
I wonder what kind of day jobs they have.
Yeah.
I think that's
exactly.
Maybe they only work in those seasonal Halloween shops,
or like in the produce section at HEB.
I know who you're talking about.
Well, at the Ace Hardware where all the brooms are at.
Exactly. Like they have.
Will get you some great traction.
Yeah, no, like what do they do? Do they live like normal lives? Like, there's just like, they're kind of mystified. Like they've never been taken serious. When we think of witches, like I remember for once, like when I was working at Cornerstone there at on Griffin Parkway off 495. Remember Cornerstone, the gym?
Yeah.
So I was working there when I was like right out of high school. So this was like 2003, 2004. And there was a lady who said that she was a witch. And she cut hair. She was a bruja, and she cut hair right there off of where the softball park by the expressway, not on the west side, like on Ware Road, but closer in Mission. So there's like a little like shopping center behind. Not Banfield, man. It's like more in Mission. Like I'll remember. CWV. That's where it was. CWV baseball. Like it's a softball park. And there was like a little center, like a little shopping center around there. And that's where she would cut hair. And my dad was always rude. My dad was just like, he likes to ruffle feathers. And I'm like, that's the last place you want to ruffle feathers, because how do witches cast spells? They keep your hair. Yeah. Exactly. And then they do potions and stuff.
Yeah. So like, that's definitely not something I would trust.
No. Exactly. And then there was a dude that started coming in with her who said he was a curandero. And so he said he was going to release my spine, and he tried to pop my neck. And like, it was just like, I told him, I was like, you know what, make me a love potion. And it basically just smelled like cheap Avon, like perfume. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what he mixed it with, but it never worked, So this is a curandero falso,
That's fantastic. No, but that's the kind of people we need to find, right? Like we need to find that seem to be doing just normal things, because they have to have a day job. And then there's some people that probably take their lifestyle, whatever, and be like, okay, cool, I sell stones, or you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
That kind of fills that gap between their personal life and their professional life or whatever. So they might be like, oh yeah, like you said, like selling potions or teas or something.
Yeah, like what if they do work, like, I don't know, at Macy's or something, like in like the shoe department, right. And you're working in the shoe department too. You're just it's a survival job. You're right out of high school or whatever. You're young, like say like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old. They're just trying to make ends meet, trying to figure out life, get through school. And one day you start getting a chatting with this other person that's working with you in the shoe department. They're like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, you know what? I used to play football or whatever, and now I'm here. I'm just going to school. What about you? It's like, well, I kind of have another business, but that's just for fun. And I, well, what kind of business is that? Well, I sell little stones and, these little potions. Here, let me give you my card. And it's like a little witchy card, and they have like a little, like instead of Tupperware parties, maybe they have like different kind of artifacts. I don't know what kind of stones they use, but I know they have stones. That's been a popular thing that I've been seeing. Stones and candles, always big. So I think it'd be fascinating, how that even comes up in conversation. And just like, if you think about it, like, what if like on the side interview, there's that dude who's like, I met like Samantha at Macy's. She's pretty cool. She does that witch stuff, but
that's
just normal.
We also talk to like other people in the surrounding, like their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their kids.
Exactly.
So was she a shoeheria?
You got me.
You got George that one.
You got me.
Okay, question, George and Ali. When you hear the word witch, what's the first image? Obviously, the vast majority movies that we've seen or cartoons. What's the first thing that, like, to you, what is a witch? Visually,
I mean, I see just a loner, someone who's very introverted and very cynical. Like, I mean, that's what they've been kind of like tossed upon us. Like that idea, it's usually the loner woman. The old hag is always like a cliche of witches. But what's really been coming out in the last 10 years with movies like The Witch or The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is one of like the hidden gems that I think everybody should watch. Yeah. And those give good stories to the old Salem witches, and it gave me a different perspective. And then like just seeing, like how it's being discussed today, even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but like I think like when a lot of people just think of witches, they think of like the pointy hats, brooms, sinister laugh, cats, stuff like that. Very cliche stuff.
Thinking nighttime, I feel like a lot of this is going to take place in the night.
Yeah.
And around a cauldron is what I was thinking.
Yeah, cauldrons are always there. Yeah.
Those are the two things that I think of first. But besides that, like, I mean, I think that the cool thing is there's so much that we could tap into, and every area is going to have its own belief system, probably, and that's the cool thing is seeing how it differs in different countries or different places, or even like the egg, sana sana kulita, like that's witchcraft to me.
Yeah.
That's
it is.
Well, and we have that.
Break it down to its bare bones. It is
totally. And in our culture, we have the same thing. We obviously say something else in a different language, but we have the same kind of
same concept.
And so it's like, or when you're like, even just I think like when you're what is it called? Cleaning a house with the sage. When you burn the sage and you walk around a house or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's all the same.
That's very, very common now too. A lot of people say it like if it's just mainstream. It's not even frowned upon or looked at as weird anymore. Walking around with sage, one of the things.
Core belief system is witchcraft.
You're getting out the spirits. You're shooing them away. When I was living in Jersey City in our first apartment, when we were married, me and Rosa, in Jersey City, which is just right across the Hudson from Manhattan, so they call it the sixth borough, and it's also known as Little India. Like it's just like predominantly Indian families, tons of Indian families, and the nicest people on earth. And one of the things that I noticed, we had a building that in our apartment building, there was a driveway that went like it was like a tunnel that went under one side of the building and then looped around the other side. And our apartment was directly above one side. And I would walk my dog every night. And one of the things that I would notice under the one tunnel that was under all the apartment rooms was a broken egg, like as if someone would like egg, like if you egged a house or something like that. But it was always in that one spot, never anywhere else. So, and it was also about maybe 20 yards away from the street. So, and there was cars on the street. So if they wanted to egg something to like vandalize, it'd be silly. They could have hit those cars, but this is just broken, and it would happen every day or every other day. And I would ask around, and I could never get like an explanation, because I know like with brujeria and stuff, like they use eggs kind of like for like cures or like to cure the ojo, like if someone gave you ojo. Right. But I never could find out what it was. And I asked around my whole building because, it's a bunch of different cultures. Growing up in the Valley, we're not exposed to very much culture. Right. You know what I mean? And over there, everybody had like a different theory as to what it was. So we just didn't know who the culprit was, because I had neighbors from Saudi Arabia right above me. I had a lot of Indian, neighbors, and then a lot of people from they're Bengali, and there's just like Sri Lankan neighbors. So it's like I was trying to get down to the nitty gritty. Like, what is this egg?
No, it's true, and that's the thing is like everybody has their own different belief stuff. So it's like finding what people believe and why and where it originated. Like even going back into history and finding where that came from. What started that so that it got to Sri Lanka or India or wherever, and then also Mexico and also to wherever. Like where did it begin, so that we can find, like that's really cool. And I think like almost each episode could have a theme like that, where it's like this one is all about, a specific thing, whether it's the herbs, and then the next one is about ghosts, or the other, like whatever. Just like each one is specific to a topic or something.
I'd love to see like the telephone game, right? Where I'd love to see like if we date it back, like what if there's the original and how everything got transcended. I'm reading up right now like about the egg. I guess it's seen as the embryo of all life, so that's why they utilize that in that route. It's a universal symbol of existence. So like that's cool. Like that's very interesting.
And that's life too. And one of the funny things was, I mean, it could be coincidental, but like my wife and I, we didn't get pregnant until after we moved from that apartment, and we were there for like a majority. It wasn't until we moved into the next apartment that we were able to have, my wife got pregnant, and I was thinking like maybe, I was like thinking like
there's got to be something to it.
I believe it too. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was good though, because like we were able to establish ourselves in the industries that we were both in New York. But like that always, like I always wondered about that. And like if you look back, like you said, if you played the game of telephone and you go back into history, where does all this come from? Where does like the similarities like they happen, and where do they start branching off?
Yeah, totally.
Like I don't know if you guys remember back in 1989 in Brownsville, in Matamoros, Mark Kilroy. If you can Google Mark Kilroy was a spring breaker that came down to South Padre, and Padre spring break is huge. Well, he went to Matamoros with his friends and he got separated. He disappeared, became a national like search party. It was on Oprah, it was on ABC Nightly News. It was the hugest thing I remember, and because it was on Oprah and because he was the missing spring breaker, they finally found him at this ranch along with like I think 12 or 13 others. And
because I read what's going on. Keep going.
Yeah, he was murdered, obviously, decapitated, but it was all sacrificial for this cult. Like, it wasn't the same kind of narco cults that you have today with the Santísimo Muerte. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was a different kind of brujeria that kind of stemmed from the islands, the Puerto Ricans and the Haitians. And, it's already like made its way over to mainland, North America. And it was a crazy thing because like they had cooked them and tortured them and like just cut them up. Yeah. And if you read about those people that did it, like they were nutsos.
Yeah. Clearly.
But like, is that stuff still happening?
It says the cult leader was an honor student and cheerleader at a college, and it was a girl.
Yeah. And they lived in that weird place outside of in front of the Weslaco Walmart. That like little green.
What do you remember? There was a house like going towards like the Santa Ana Refuge, I think, or like you're going towards Mexico, almost like where the airport is at. Like I remember specifically where me and my friend, like my cousin, we thought like that's got to be some witch's house. It was like a very rundown building, and there was obviously some superstitions around that. But
remember the insane asylum? That they it was like the mission.
Yes,
it burned down. Like I was gonna show somebody that. Like I was all proud of it, and I'd been gone for almost 10 years. And I was like, no, you got to see it. This thing is super creepy. We drive up, and it's only the facade, like just the front of the building. That was the only thing that was preserved. Everything else burned down. I'm like, well, this is a big letdown.
Where you're like, man, this is insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is insane. These people must be crazy.
People are crazy. Speaking of insane, let's talk about you for a second, George.
Let's
do our little question corner situation that we do here.
Okay, let's do this.
Question corner.
Boom, shakalaka.
Cool. So I have a couple questions for you. One, so you've played multiple roles such as security guard, bodega man, and doorman.
Multiple times.
So my question is, one, what were your inspirations? Two, when you played those roles, was it like, okay, I'm the same bodega man again? Am I the same security man again? Did you ever like roll your information from one to the other? Go ahead.
With bodega guys, it was easier. And I also got some of those edited. Like I did Surge Party on season 2. I was the bodega guy. It got edited out. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I was in Succession as the doorman.
And Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods, back-to-back jobs.
Oh, wow.
I did Succession in like the November, and then I did the Blue Bloods episode my birthday week. So it was in January, like 14th, 13th, and my birthday's the January 11th. And I remember, this is going to sound really, really awful, but I did the Blue Bloods job just because I just wanted to get in good with the casting director. And it was like it was like one of those casting directors that like it is like a very tough egg to crack. And I went straight to the producer session, so I didn't even audition.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Because later on down the road, if they saw that, in my mind, I could be totally wrong, and it's like this maybe with other casting directors. I know I had just done a doorman, and I literally turned down another doorman audition, like 2 auditions later from there. But with this one, it was straight to producer session, and I'll tell you why I also did it is that in that casting office, he does most of the CBS shows like The Good Liar, The Good Wife, all that. And they run their office much different than any other casting office. So like if you go into a casting office, you go in for your audition. In New York, this is how they do it. It's just like there's usually just either just the casting director behind camera, you're doing it on tape, or it's the reader, casting director on tape, and then you do it once or twice. They might give you direction, they might not, and then tape goes, like they'll look at the tape, or they'll just say, yeah, you got to look at this guy. They'll send it off to production, and then blah blah blah, the chain of events. With this guy, he'll preview you, like the actors, like the audition, so he'll like screen everybody, and then if he likes what he saw, then he'll put you on tape. And it's like one of those things where it's kind of like if you're watching other people read for the same thing, and if they just walk to their bag and leave, you know that they're not going to tape. But if they walk around to the assistant around the wall, then you know they're going to tape. And it's always like for adults, it's hard. And I saw it happen that day for that audition, for that producer session with a child.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean? And several children, and their little hearts were broken because you see the other little kids come and get their moms and say, hey, they want to talk to you, and the other kids are like watching them, go back, and then it's their turn and they didn't get that opportunity.
Straight to their bag and leave,
Yeah, it's just like one of those heartbreaking things. So I did that, and I think I just basically, I don't know, doormen, they just open doors and no secrets.
Yeah.
That's
it.
Secret.
A lot of secrets.
I know a lot of secrets.
It's a great.
Yeah, no, it's really good, man. They talk about brujeria in the first one. They talk. Well, they have.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that earlier.
Yeah.
Anyways, we just watched the first episode. I haven't seen anything else, so don't spoil it. The only spoiler I know is that my friend Jorge Chapa is a doorman in an episode of Succession. So
it's supposed to be 2. I got edited out of the second one, but I'm still credited.
Hell yeah!
Name of the game.
That's how
it goes. Down here on between your first and last name, it says Sirloin.
Yeah.
We were in college. You used to have this joke. It was always something you said was like, if I'm ever a stripper, I'm going to call myself Sirloin.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those things happen and nobody ever does anything with that shit. And then you went and turned that into a short film that you wrote and directed.
Dude, that was like a teaser. Like I had planned on doing a lot more, like adding more. Like I have a friend, and his stripper name would be Rusty Nugget, and like we would beef, and then like we would have to join forces because then the female strippers would come in, and we would have to fight them. So I had more planned, but yeah, it's something that might get me fired from a job later on in life, or might get me promoted. I don't know. It's definitely going to embarrass my daughter.
That's great. That's the thing that's the pat on the back for you is just like, hey, at least you have something to embarrass your daughter with. No, but that's great. You got to make your own projects. And I think that's great that you went and did that. And I definitely think like, even if it's just for you, just to have them, like that's good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I love that you actually turned it into something, because there's so many people like make silly jokes and then nothing ever happens. But a couple of years ago, I remember you like, hey, we're doing this thing. It's super serious. You were online like, hey, we're trying to make this project called Sirloin. And I was like, I fucking love it.
We were talking about this back in 2006. Remember? I told you about that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So that was way back when. So, like sometimes you just got to plant that seed and nurture it. And then years later, it becomes the mighty oak.
Oh, I love it.
A sequoia.
And I hope you make a web series out of it. And
I definitely should. Chewy shot that.
I know. That's fucking awesome, dude. Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing is like, it's all just to make more noise. The more noise you make, the more people are going to be like, I want to put this guy in stuff because he's a go-getter. He's going to do shit even for himself,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's Sirloin for crying out loud.
I know.
Sirloin. The Barack Obama booty.
There you go. So speaking of the Barack Obama booty, you also in the downtime that you've had between jobs these days, you have this thing called George's Isolation Podcast. Or his Isolation Podcast.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So like everyone else, have been quarantined, stuck at home. A little backstory: my wife and I moved back to the Valley, the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas, from living in New York for 8 years. And I think a lot of my concerns was like, was I going to be able to continue in this industry? And sure enough, it was going to happen until, auditions were coming in. I have agents in Austin. I still have my reps in New York. And then COVID hit and we were shut down. And I started feeling like I was drifting away, so far away from the industry, from everything that's happening, in New York and LA. And I was just wondering, like, am I ever going to work again? And then I started thinking about, like, hey, well, how are my friends handling this in the industry? Like, what were they doing at the moment that they were told, like, whatever they were working on is done? They're doing a movie. Broadway actors, I'm talking to Broadway people, off Broadway people. I'm talking to, filmmakers. Like, I just, want to know what's going on and like what they've been doing since the shutdown, and then, what we think the future is going to be. And then it's also just a good way to catch up because I'm in isolation. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, like the Valley's at the southern tip of Texas. And the way I describe the Valley to a lot of people, because every time I say the Valley, they think California. Yeah. And I say, like, we're not the US, we're not Texas, and we're not Mexico. We're just like our own little world, Mexico,
Texas, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. And it's
like
so
San
far away.
Antonio, and I'm like,
it's like, yeah. Like
when
South
they
Texas.
When they say Corpus, I'm like, okay, you're closer.
You're close. I'll take it. But yeah, I just need to catch up with people. I've got some cool guests, and it's keeping in touch with people and just seeing how everyone's dealing with life now and this craziness.
Well, the name alone, that's why I like the name, your isolation podcast, because we're all being isolated, so
yeah,
it is great that you're kind of like opening, the jar. We're still in a little jar, but you're opening and saying, hey, I'm here. I care. How's your day?
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah. I'm alive.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, you gotta see people. I mean, that's one of the good things about us doing this is like, I mean, I haven't been going anywhere. I've been doing a lot of work from home.
Yeah.
Working from home. Like we used to do this live, and now we do, I mean, like in a room live.
Yeah.
Live in a different way. But it's just so weird. Like, but it's great. Mad respect for actually following the rules and wearing a mask and not going out and all that stuff. I know you have so like it makes sense for you to actually believe this as a real thing, but there's so many people out there that don't, that it's
man. And the thing that was hitting really bad was that when everything was happening in New York and LA, we had that mandatory shutdown here in the Valley, but the thing was, it wasn't happening, hadn't gotten here yet. Mm-hmm. And I remember when everything was that chick. I remember when everything was happening. We were, you could track like, oh, Hidalgo County has like, 5 cases and Star has 10. Like it was like a very low double digits. Yeah. And now it's like, 30 to 40 people are dying a day.
I know
down here.
Our status over there.
I was actually in the Valley when I was in that middle. I was in for the whole month of June. I was in Texas.
It's your fault.
And, it's my fault.
You did it. You brought it from
patient
LA.
Zero.
Yeah.
Paciente cero. I don't know. But yeah, so I was there before, and then when they opened up Texas, everyone went to like flee. They fled to Austin, San Antonio. They started doing like normal life when Texas opened. And they brought it back to to the Valley, and now, I mean, I just Donna, where my mom lives, unfortunately, there's a huge thing in the news yesterday that it's doing so bad. It sucks.
And then we got a hurricane.
And then you had a hurricane.
Yeah.
It's I was like, which please? What the hell, man?
Which please? But I also feel, and this is just a very selfish thing, that hurricanes have always been a good luck thing for me and for Rosa. When I first moved up to New York that week, I was supposed to start grad school. We had a Hurricane Irene just miss it. So it was like it kind of like kicked off like a good school kind of like a record, and or career, I should say. And then when Rose and I got married the following year, that's when Hurricane Sandy hit, and it hit hard. and that kind of like blessed our union and our lives in New York City. And we had a very good run in New York. Like, she just excelled in her career, and like she just kept going up, and she's still doing that. And I was fortunate enough to work whatever I was working, and all the TV gigs and the movies, and working with who I've been working with. And then now that we've moved back down, we had a hurricane, and this is like a new beginning. So it's kind of like if you can weather the storm, then there's gonna be some beauty at the end of that rainbow. And I kind of see that. Even when Rose and I started dating, there was a hurricane, and there was a hurricane.
Most religions, they have the priest that like put the water.
You just got with a hurricane.
Again. That's great, dude. I just wanted to talk about divorce real quick, because that was a big thing for you. You were on a bunch of episodes of divorce.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And so tell us.
Not divorce, like the actual like divorce.
No, you didn't know. No, you and Rose are doing great, but the HBO show Divorce. Tell us a little bit about that.
Man, here's one of those things. It's kind of like my audition, kind of feelings is like, I don't go into auditions feeling like I always feel like I want to book the show or whatever I'm going in for. But I always feel that the bigger job for me in any audition is to just crush the scene that I'm given. Just take the director or the casting director to a place where it seems real for them. The rest is out of my hands. It's like that Bryan Cranston video says, our job as actors is to act. And once you do your thing in the audition room, then, the rest is out of your hands. And the point of this little story about auditions is that the very first professional audition I had right out of grad school was with this casting director who booked me on this. And so I waited 2 years. They kept their eye on me. And also in that scene there with Thomas Hayden Church, it was also an opening to kind of like see if the rumor was true, if he was from the Valley, if he was from Harlingen. And he graduated from Harlingen High School. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I finally got I swore, like, if I was ever going to work with this guy, I was going to ask him. And luckily I booked this and we talked about it. And when we talked about that, I was up for one episode. And then this guy got me in for like a couple more.
Nice.
Me and Danny and Renes that are in the Budo 956. And that he got us into a few more episodes. I remember he called Sharon Horgan over, who is the creator of the show, and it was talking about some scene that he said he couldn't do without us there. Nice. And he's like, yeah, we have to bring him back. We were like, they're really good. They're integral to what I'm doing in the scene. So, they brought us back, and it was a really awesome, experience. Danny and Renes, the two other guys that was in the scene with me, and Thomas Hayden Church, they became some of my best friends, where we talk like almost a few times a week.
You're on your podcast, right?
Yeah. The very first episode, we talk, about, just life and, not working a lot. And, like at any given time, you can see one of us on something. If you're like watching a marathon of something, one of us will pop up. We're those guys that was in that thing. You don't know our names, but you'll recognize our faces.
Seen that documentary about
dude,
that guy that was in that thing?
Yes, that's where I got it from. I should have been in that. The
next one. You're going to be the one we produce right after we finish Which Please, the docuseries.
Yeah. But Divorce was an amazing experience. I also met Yul Vasquez and became really good friends with him on that show. And Yul was in The Outsider. He's coming out in the Books of Blood. He's supposed to be coming on my podcast pretty soon, so we can chat about all that. But that guy was one of those veterans that you mention his name on almost any set. And, it opens up a door to conversation. He's just known everywhere. And he's just a fun guy, and he's smart, and he's got our backs, and he's been like a mentor. So it's like opened up. Yeah, it's been that show, not just for career, but like just, I guess, all for career and like just friendship too. Like just learning.
No, that's great.
Yeah, life. Like it's opened up several doors for me and for those guys. Yeah. So this was a really great experience. And Sarah Jessica Parker, she's a sweetheart.
Nice.
Sweetheart. Yeah.
Well, she's married to Matthew Broderick, you would imagine.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Sarah Jessica Parker, She was a witch in Hocus Pocus. Let's bring it back around. Let's talk about our show. We're doing Witch Please, the documentary.
Boom.
Maybe we talk to some actors. Maybe we talk to some actors that have played in the past. And
like the live or the reenactments, if we're gonna reenact the
scene. Just like what did they do to get into that mode? You know, like I mean,
exactly. Or like we talked about The Craft earlier. It was Neve Campbell. It was the woman from The Mentalist. Let me see, Fairuza Balk. I'm looking up the fourth one. She was the Black Witch. Her name was Rachel True. And a fun fact of what's happening right now is like last year or the year before, she had posted up this thing saying it's kind of like racial inequality. Like whenever there's any conventions or anything, they'll try to get Neve Campbell, they'll get Fairuza Balk, or they'll get Ramen Tunney, but they've never ever reached out for her. And the other girls started sticking up for her. It's like, you know what, we're not going to do this unless she's coming with us. You know what I mean? And it's like kind of an interesting story how she's kind of like pushed aside or forgotten, as the other witch, or like they forget that she was even in there, and that's not cool. But I think she was doing some other stuff in the horror game, so hopefully she'll come back. And I think she has a production company, so they're starting to do more.
Nice,
yeah.
I mean, then that's the thing is like talking to people that have some sort of connection to this world, like even just trying to get like J.K. Rowling in and talk to her about it. Like, what inspired you to do this? Like,
why witches and wizards,
right? Or the writer of Hocus Pocus, or like hey, this is like the
Mick Garris.
Yeah, totally. Like one of the most, like I guess like long-standing witch movies that like
beloved films.
Anything that we can like try to get those folks in too. Because I think that's one of the things like I like about good documentaries is when they get people that you wouldn't expect to be in the documentary or get interviewed for it or whatever.
Yeah.
But like add a different layer to it.
Yeah, like it would be cool to like someone who did their research in everything was Robert Eggers for The Witch.
Hell yeah.
Like, that guy like so I worked with a guy at my survival job when I had a survival job at the gym. And he had worked with Eggers about 8 years prior, so 2008, and that's when they were still trying to get that movie made. So he had been working on it just as long as I'd been working on Sirloin, but just his was a little bit more epic and cooler.
No, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, Sirloin's pretty epic, man.
Well, I know he's known and famous for the attention to detail in specific in history, and he digs into that. So I know like The Lighthouse, another one, but sure, yeah.
I actually loved that movie.
It was good.
And then if you look into all the theories and all that about was it Prometheus? Like all that stuff is pretty cool stuff. Yeah. The other person too I would love to chat with would be was it Andre Ovredal, the guy who directed Autopsy Jane Doe?
Yeah.
It would be like, what would you, what kind of work that went into that? Or even like, I think a good man, that season of American Horror Story when they did The Witches, The Coven. Yeah. Like they had such a great opportunity. And for me, that was the most cohesive season they ever had. Cause it actually had some flow to it. And other seasons, they kind of like, by the third or fourth episode, I know that thing is just going to be like a black cat in a pan, of cotton, just going to pop and all that stuff's going to go everywhere. Yeah. But yeah, The Coven was really good because you had the two different types of witches that are known in the US, but then there's a third, down south, the Southwest with brujas, the Mexican American witches and, the Latin American witches. So
wait, which one?
So Coven, like if they would have had that,
He said which one? You don't have to. Don't fucking humor him.
We're in the Punderdome.
Nice. But little known fact, in Sherryland High School, where we all went to high school, I was actually in the Crucible, and I
was in the Pun Club.
I wish it was a Pun Club, but no. And I remember specifically, I loved the Crucible because I was always fascinated, genuinely, with the Salem witch trials, apart from the story, but that concept. And I'm geeking out right now as far as like where Arthur Miller came up with that. Like there had to be
the communists.
Had been some truth, with that those kind of acts happening. And then you go back to The Witch, the movie with Robert Eggers, like even pushes back the time frame. It's amazing. Like I really want to see this. I want to see this as an actual docuseries. I'm genuinely very, very intrigued.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I would like to see how it's evolved to where also like nowadays we're not as sheltered and we're not as censored as we had been 20 years ago. Or remember in the 1980s, we had the Satanic Panic where, I don't know, you guys remember growing up, there was always some shed somewhere that was somebody would do satanic rituals. It was all the satanicos are there, or on 8 Mile on Sherry, like there was a shed out there. They did satanic stuff there, and like that was nationwide, and they all thought that there was satanic ritual abuse happening throughout the nation, and that's when all the kids were being molested or abducted. And so it went from that, the Satanic Panic. And it's like one of those things that I'm super fascinated with is the Satanic Panic and how all of that, like the Dungeons and Dragons, remember they had that Tom Hanks movie based off that kid that got lost in the tunnels, like at University of Minnesota or something like that, because they said that he was playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's like there's like an evolution, and there was like a literal like witch hunt back in the 80s, and you had the West Memphis 3 from that documentary. It was on HBO. Paradise Lost, I think it was called. Yeah. That documentary was terrific, and it's kind of like, if you listen to heavy metal, like they're satanicos, they're Satanists, and now it's pretty open, like
now it's like they're Scientology.
They're Scientology, and now we're like living in the world where there's no censorship, and like WAP is the #1 song in the world. When that would have been so underground back in the 90s, and 80s, like that was, we're in such different times. So now people are able to be who they are. So it'd be fascinating to see that.
Yeah.
But you said you did the Crucible at Sherryland. I don't know if you remember this, but when I was there for my junior and senior year, so that was 99, 2000, 2001. We didn't really have a theater department. All we did was play cards in theater class, and then they did
theater arts. We had
Gartman.
Gartman.
Like we did nothing. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but this is 20 years ago. But like we played cards or took naps, and we would just listen to Into the Woods.
The only thing I remember about him, or I guess that department in general, was that they found Josh Wise. That's it. That's all.
That was your freshman year. I remember that. Yeah,
Josh Wise, and they put him on Frasier, and then it was like, and then he was on that show. Oh man, he was on that show with the guy from You or whatever. Anyways.
Badgley.
Yeah, Penn Badgley.
Yeah, that show. Yeah, he was on the show with Penn Badgley. Totally. But I remember that's the only thing I remember about that whole department.
Is that the one like Gossip Girl?
Yeah. He was on.
So like Carrie
Gossip Girl. He was on some little like CW style show. Or something.
Carrie Kissimmee was like, remember Carrie Kissimmee, right?
Yeah.
I think he was like roommates with Ed Westwick.
Oh, nice.
Or they're like super tight or something. And I was like, man, that's like, we got the CW working out. Yeah. I would never be cast on a CW show. I am just too pretty for them.
Yeah. No, you could be like a teacher.
I could, the janitor more than likely, or the butcher.
Come on.
I've seen Riverdale. I know how they work.
Listen, a nerd. Come on. What are you talking about?
Like listen, like also like Archie became like Tom Hardy in that movie Lawless, where like they couldn't kill him. Remember, he gets his throat sliced, he gets shot, like he can never die, and then he dies of the flu. Like Archie gets attacked by a bear. He's in some underground prison fight club, and he's just roundhousing everybody. Is this just like Archie was a nerd in the comics?
He was in a band, the Archie.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder. So with this docuseries, do you? If you could, we also do a thing where we have like a dream cast or a dream, cast and crew. Who would you have like be behind this project? Like if you had a full, $1 million budget or however much it takes, who would you hire?
Who would I hire? I don't know. And also like considering like what network are we shooting for, and like where would it be? Because for me, I think Guillermo del Toro would be primary. Like as a producer, he would also get us lined up, and I think with del Toro, would probably get us on a Netflix. I would love to be on HBO, but I see Netflix being more open.
Yeah,
more open. Yeah, you would be more open to this longer docu-series. You know, because they're popping them out pretty often now.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
Guillermo del Toro is a perfect fit because isn't it like in Pan's Labyrinth? Like that's not to give it away. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you need to. Whoever's listening or watching, you need to see that film. It's essential. But like, there's a little bit of that witchcraft in that sense. You know, with the that's under the bed, right? Where like it's a superstition in that. Sense.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm pretty sure if he was watching, he'd probably say yes. Let's do this, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing with Del Toro is like he knows the history of all these things and like the fairy tale aspects, because most of his movies he would call a fairy tale that he does. And with horror, it's a blend of horror fairy tale, and he loves the fantasy of that. So he does do a lot of that. Like, I mean, if you watch was it Crimson Peak or you know, Pan's Labyrinth was one, but you know, he's also produced Mama and some others, like, and he's always behind these things. So he'd be about it. I think he would.
Well, his newest one he's producing, I heard him on a podcast, or actually I saw him during Comic-Con. It's around that. It's also with I think like the Norse mythology about I forget the name of it, but like, so he's definitely in that world, literally and, you know, figuratively.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I would love for him to be on that. You know, I don't know who else would be some of the. I think some people from Blumhouse, bringing them on too, because either them or Rue Morgue. Rue Morgue, the Canadian horror magazine, would have the, I guess, the witchy sensibility. The Andrea Subicetti, who's like the editor in chief of Rue Morgue, she's very into that stuff, and I think she would have, you know, the knowledge to discuss it and be a backer, and that could be another avenue too, and that could be a great way for them to break into documentaries and movies as well, because they do have their online magazine, they have their hard copy magazine, and they have their podcasts. So, you know, Andrea Subicetti would be a great producer if she could, you know, or even a guest speaker on there.
Jordan Peele too.
Jordan Peele would be fun.
Oh, he's great. I mean,
he's too busy right now.
Yeah, but he can make 15 seconds for us. Just to be like, I approve this message.
Jordan Peele did a little bit, I think, on the Eli Roth History of Horror. Yeah, I think he popped in on there, and I think Del Toro, Mick Garris was on there. Like, so I think that'd be pretty interesting.
How about a tagline? What's the tagline for this Witch Please show on Netflix?
I don't know. What would be a good tagline? It's like, we're going to spell it out for you. Witch Please. Yes. Let's spell it out for you.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Do we have to spell it out for you?
Do we have to spell it out for you?
That's fantastic. Oh, that's
good.
Cool.
Now that'd be fun. Yeah, I think that'd be a good documentary, good docuseries. It could also be one of those things where it also opens up the history and the evolution. And yes, I do love Riverdale. Yeah, that's my guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Jorge Chapa loves Riverdale. That's when he knows the entire story.
You know who would be, like, speaking of Riverdale, who would be a great guest and a producer for this? It would be Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, the creator of Riverdale, because he's the one who did the new Sabrina, and he did that really well. And it's a darker vision.
Yeah.
So it would be good, I think.
Stakeout by Scott. Oh, I get it.
Like burn at the stake. I get it.
Or we could say the stakes are high. The stakes are high. Let's spell it out for you.
Do we have to spell it out for you?
This is the best.
That's good.
Don't miss out on the magic.
We're paying attention, Scott. I love it. That's good.
Should we release this in the Christmas time? Let's bypass Halloween. Let's So Halloween could do its thing, then like Christmas time to overtake show
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hocus Pocus.
Oh.
Man, well, they're going to compete with Halloween, so you could do it like in September as a precursor, leading up to October. I don't know.
Or you could do like well, I mean, it's Netflix, so they'd binge them all, right? It wouldn't be like one at a time. It's Netflix.
Yeah.
If we're doing Netflix, it would be all at once. So maybe like September, so you're all amped up for Halloween.
Yeah.
We could spike sales for witch costumes. It'd be great.
Yeah. It's like the Harley Quinn year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where everybody was Harley Quinn, even my mom.
Me too.
All right. So,
do you think the witches living today? Do you think they're like they've taken on this technology, like are on Tinder or like things like that? Like, would you?
Here's the thing. I think partially there's some, like with everything, there's people who take it serious, and then there's people who are doing it for attention. And if you like go on TikTok or anything like that, there's like videos of women saying, like claiming to be witches and saying that we've done incantations, we've done spells on the president. Oh, we're gonna win. We're gonna fight this. We are casting spells, and they're serious. And it's like, I don't know if they're being for real or if they're just doing it for, TikTok fame. But it'd be very, very interesting to know or see the dynamic between like how, OG witches or women who identify as witches see these imposters, or if they consider them imposters, or are they welcoming all? There's no discrimination, or is there some sort of discrimination between the types of witches? Think about that. Like it's crazy. It's kind of like martial arts. It's like you want to see which one's the best one. Well, what kind of witches are the best ones? Or who has the most the realest powers or whatever.
I'm reading that book Sapiens, actually from a
comic.
Episode 16, I want to say.
Yeah,
but that's where I heard about it. But it's kind of like correlating in that respect with that history, and that's why I do. I think a lot of people are going to watch it, especially witches. Like that's a whole other world. I mean, the Blair Witch Project is like still to this day like one of the originators of that style. If not, that kind of
found footage.
The found footage, and still creepy to this day.
Oh yeah.
Great, yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. I think we have a show, guys. I think we're good. I don't know if we need to waste any more of your time besides this one other little thing that we like to do over here called Two Truths and One False.
Okay.
2 truths and 1 false that we do here. So that's going to be 2 truths about yourself and 1 false about yourself, 1 lie. And you tell us all 3, and then we try to guess which one is the false of the 3.
Okay.
So do you need a second?
Yeah, let me think.
All right, you think, and RC and I will come up with something over here.
Let's see.
RC.
I think we got a few more comments on what we can name it. So let's see. What we do in the shadows, what we do in the cauldron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
We got Millennial Bitchin' Wiccans. Oh yeah, I'm watching MBW on the CW. Let's see.
You call it the Wikipedia.
Yes, I love that. And so I guess we don't really we need to come up with a cast to cast.
Well, the cast is we find real witches.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll find the witches. Yeah,
this is a documentary. You don't cast a documentary unless it's a mockumentary.
Casting spells. That's the only reason. It wasn't that funny if I had to walk you through it, obviously. But no, I love that the Crucible. Rick Diaz was and Vanessa was in it. I remember his sister Diaz. She was
man, yeah. Okay, yeah. I remember Ricky was into that. It was now he's a camera guy, a DP extraordinaire. I met up with him in when he was up there for Tribeca. We got breakfast one day.
Yeah, we met him up last year sometime. Last year.
Yeah.
Before all this craziness, when we were allowed to eat with people.
I wanted Brian Banks, I believe is the name of the film that he was the
Brian Banks. Yeah.
I want to see that one.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
Yeah.
Well, George, you got truths and a false for me?
Sure.
Let's do it. What do you got?
I took a picture next to Morgan Freeman sleeping.
Okay.
I farted around Sarah Jessica Parker.
Okay.
And I auditioned for Kimmy Schmidt 8 times and booked it twice.
Oh, these are good.
Okay.
So that.
All right, so
took a picture
next to Morgan Freeman sleeping.
Near Morgan Freeman sleeping.
Near God sleeping is what you're saying. Near God sleeping is.
Yeah, I was an angel, basically.
Okay, and then the next one was.
I farted around Sarah Jessica Parker.
Okay, and then the third one was you auditioned
8 times for Kimmy Schmidt and booked it twice.
Okay, I think I've looked at your IMDb. Oh, well, hold on. Do you want us to guess already, or?
Yeah, go for it.
RC, what do you got? Who are you guessing?
Okay,
took a picture next to Morgan Freeman sleeping. Farted near Jessica Parker is number 2. And third is auditioned 8 times for Kimmy Schmidt and booked it twice. What do you got?
I'm going to say number 1. I think that's a lie, that you took a picture near Morgan Freeman sleeping.
Okay. I looked at your IMDb. I have not seen you working with Morgan Freeman, but I also haven't seen you working on Kimmy Schmidt. So I'm torn. But I definitely think you farted near Jessica Parker. Jessica Parker. That seems like something we would do, both of us. I'm going to say you did not audition for Kimmy Schmidt 8 times and book it twice.
It's true. I did. I got to the point where I booked it, and then they wrote me off. And then I was playing a landlord for, was it Jane Krakowski? Is that her name? Yeah, Jane Krakowski. And I had a good 2-page scene with her. I went to wardrobe. I got these nice boots and this cool little landlord super outfit. And then the next day they said, "Oh, we're sorry, we got written off again."
Oh shit!
Man.
Yeah. So
Well,
I got the check stubs, but no IMDb credit.
That's how you tricked me. You fooled me. You fucking fooled me.
And that's what happened with Search Party too. I'm surprised. I think I have the IMDb credit for Search Party. Yeah. But Mr. Robot. Mm-hmm.
Also, Mr. Robot.
Yeah, the last scene of the first season that Rami Malek shot was with me. Mm-hmm.
Oh damn!
So this next one, so you fooled me. What about RC? Did you actually not take a picture next to Morgan Freeman sleeping?
I did. Remember, I did that movie Going in Style. And
Douglas, I think, right?
Yes, I was working with Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Arkin for 6 days, and in between setups, because it was one of those things where there was the shootout. They break the window, so the poor guys had to clean up the broken glass, replace the window so they could break it another 3 or 4 times. So we're sitting down, and I was in between Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman, and Michael Caine was muttering to himself, on my right side, and then Morgan Freeman was taking a nap. And I think it's on my Instagram, that picture somewhere in there.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And I would never fart around Sarah Jessica Parker. That sweet angel.
So the fall says you never farted near Sarah Jessica Parker. Not even like a little slip by, nothing.
Nope. I kept that for Thomas Hayden Church.
You sealed that shit tight.
Yep.
Wow, I'm proud of you, buddy.
That's some good control you got, man. That's great control.
Yeah, I do my Kegels.
Wild. I would not. I don't know.
You totally got me on that one.
Yeah.
You got us both on different ones. I definitely feel like that's the one that I was like, of course. I mean,
yeah,
right,
it's there. Like if you, it's got to be on my Instagram. I post it.
That time you farted in your son's church?
So I farted right next to Morgan Freeman and put him to sleep.
Nice.
Yeah, dude.
If you think about it, in a sense, that was kind of your own little witchcraft.
Oh, in a sense.
Boom.
Let's just say you had something brewing in your stomach around this time.
Oh man,
you had your own cauldron.
Yeah, double toil and trouble.
All that. All right. Well, hey, I think we created a really cool show. called Witch Please. I think we can chalk this up to good work, I think.
Yep.
And
I can't wait to see it when someone steals the idea.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we could start working right now.
We have it documented, so if it does come out, we can sue.
Yeah, that's how we do this here.
And then I can have the money, and we can all produce the rest of Sirloin.
Yes. Into it.
I would love someone if you can create a character for me, call it Porterhouse. That would be cool. or Lil Rib.
call you, who's it? Gizzard.
Ali, what would your name be, Ali? If you're going to be in Sirloin,
I was going to call you something.
What for you?
For me.
Yeah, quarter pounder. Slim Jim.
Hey, you can dream, even though I put on my quarantine 15. You can still dream, I guess. You know? But anyways, so we have one little thing to show you before you go.
Oh, yeah. Did y'all do artwork already?
Yeah, we're working on this. Our friend Jesse that you see down below was working on artwork for this. So
oh my gosh.
Some artwork for when you see this. If you see this on the internet, this is what the show would be pitched with. It would be this. Oh, let me take the banner down. So it's called Witch Please. It's on Netflix, and it says, "Do we have to spell it out for you?"
Wow, he did that in just this little short time, and it took me 3 days to learn how to make a thumbnail for Instagram for my podcast. This is amazing. Actors, am I right?
No, am I right?
Am I right?
Yeah. Hey, he's been
that's
doing
amazing.
We don't mess around.
We don't mess around here.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. So that's the show.
I also have something to show really quick, and this is going to be for all of us, and also for those that are watching. You know, the benefits of our podcast is you could either listen to it or you could watch it. And if you are watching, then here is the picture that George was talking about. So
boom! There he is, asleep. My sweet little angel.
There's God sleeping.
Sweet little angel.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can definitely go to Jorge Chapa 11 at Jorge Chapa 11 on Instagram and find that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how Michael Caine's just like, that's how I would picture him. Like
he's muttering to himself though. Like he's just like, and then he would call Zach Braff over. He'd be like, Zach, how are we gonna run this scene or whatever? And then Alan Arkin would walk around with a ukulele. So it's like
awesome.
One of the
weird fucking
Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was awesome. It was a masterclass.
I won't open this just for all of us, all of our sakes.
Oh man,
what is that, Ali? What is that?
This is the 2001 Sharyland High School yearbook.
Yeah,
because we all don't want that to happen.
I don't mind. I actually looked really good back then. Like,
still look good, dude. You look great.
I'm a different person. Let's just say,
look at this guy.
Look at that guy.
It's work. That's what he does.
Look at that.
More like George's handsome podcast.
Well, yeah,
Sirloin's handsome podcast. All right. Well, this has been awesome. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, George. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, this is fun.
And, you can find George at Jorge Chapa 11. That's at Jorge Chapa 11 at Instagram. Anywhere else you want to throw anything else out there?
Yeah, Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Also, it's there. Yeah, Jorge's Isolation Podcast. And then my YouTube channel where I have the video podcast is just under Jorge Chapa. So you'll find me. You'll see that pretty face.
Find him.
Yeah.
Jorge Chapa, or Jorge Chapa if you're white.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We love doing this for you guys every week.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Thursday with an amazing guest. Not that George was amazing, but next week
I was just the appetizer for this.
Next week's gonna be pretty epic, dude. You're gonna want to tune in.
You're gonna have like Hugh Jackman, or it's gonna be like Thomas Hayden Church saying like I was such a douchebag on the set of Divorce.
He's gonna be like, I'm not actually from Arlington.
I lied
about it to that fat bastard on set.
But you can find us at ideaPRTYpodcast.com. That's ideaPRTYpodcast.com or at ideaPRTYpodcast. Again, with a PRTY, no A because A. And and otherwise, you can call us. You can leave us a little voice message with your impressions, your suggestions, your ideas, whatever. 661-488-PARTY, PRTY. That's 778.
If you're having a bad day, and if you want to curse out the quarantine,
it's free therapy.
Out the pandemic, you can curse it on this
free
line.
Therapy at 661-488-PRTY. We're always listening. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week, next Thursday, 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. And thanks so much for being here, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
I'm going to piss off some people. Just like Alexa, we're always listening.
What?
All right. Have a good one, man.
Later.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.